Good afternoon. It's the 103rd day of Ukrainian resistance, Ukraine Media Center working, and here we have our next briefing was Savulut Chentsov, the head of the mission of Ukraine to the European Union. Savulut, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let us speak about sanctions, the way they're introduced, what their consequences are, and how they are approved. So, the sixth package of EU sanctions it was approved. How, where, and when will it be introduced? Please tell us in detail. Thank you for the question. First of all, let me welcome all those who have something to do with the Day of Journalism and to wish you victories in this front line. Thank you. As far as the sixth package of sanctions is concerned, it was politically approved at the beginning of last week. The legal act was passed on Thursday, closer to the end of the week, and this was preceded by a real battle, political, diplomatic battle. This six sanctions package was the most difficult to approve, and the main reason for that was that finally embargo was introduced on about 90% of Russian supplies, which covers all the so-called tanker fuel. Tanker oil was covered with this package. Only pipeline oil has been left out, which is about 10%, and this product was removed from the package due to the fact that a number of countries of the EU are still dependent on the Russian oil and don't have access to the sea. This is Hungary, Slovakia, Czechia, primarily. And also, certain exemptions were given to Bulgaria and Croatia. But we assess this step as a very powerful one, in spite of the fact that transition to the new conditions will last for about 6 or 8 months, and for oil products it will be 8 months. For oil, for crude oil, it will be 6 months. However, the effect of this decision will really be seen in the nearest future because a number of the EU member states and a number of private companies are not even waiting for these sanctions. They have already started shifting to new supplies sources. For example, Germany has already shifted about 2/3 of its oil. I mean, 2/3 of the Russian oil have been already received from other sources, which means that this package was really of importance, both de facto and politically, because it became a powerful trigger for quitting Russian oil already now. Besides that, definitely it is cutting Sberbank and some more banks, Russian banks, from SWIFT. This will also have a systemic effect for the Russian financial sector. Disconnection of 3 more Russian TV channels, RTF, Planeta, Russia 24, and International TV Center. Besides that, there have been some additional restrictions set for the Russian military and defense complex, which includes companies that are on the list. The companies producing military goods and double designation products in the conditions of the war. This is particularly important. And also, in the context of leaving the Russian market by the global players, it is prohibited to provide business accounting services and consultancy services in Russia. And probably you've already seen a substantial response from different sectors of the Russian economy to this move. The Russian metallurgy industry is already facing substantial problems at the level of production because business accounting and consultancy services, cloud services, are no longer provided to the Russian Federation. And in fact, they don't have any domestic counterparts that could provide for uninterrupted operation of those enterprises. And of course, the list of natural entities, natural persons who are close to this regime has been developed, including Russian officials. And also of importance is the list of people who are suspected of having committed war crimes in Kiev region. Well, this is just a brief description of this package. And of course, the European Union is not going to stop here. They already launched a discussion on further steps and further moves related to exerting pressure on the Russian economy, and not only the Russian economy, also Belarus economy, to stop this military machine and to blow a heavy deal to deal a heavy blow on the aggressor. We have seen that Russia has started perceiving these sanctions rather seriously, promoting the statement about a global energy crisis and having a chance to affect the governments of some countries. We could see the process of voting for the sixth package of sanctions. So how do we counteract information front of Russia? Well, in fact, the Russian Federation keeps trying to pump its propaganda machine and channels with resources. Therefore, we just have to counteract it, probably in some asymmetrical way. What I mean by this, that means that we should be looking for the ways to influence Russian residents, but what's more important, we need to uh, disseminate our narrative in the European Union in a very proper way, and also in Africa, Asia, because Russian efforts are now aiming at those countries because in the context of the food crisis, which is about to happen, they could accuse Ukraine of this crisis and the countries of the West, NATO. So they are trying just to take the situation out of the context to adjust it to their propaganda for no valid reasons. They're trying to connect the sanctions that have already been introduced in relation to the Russian Federation to this food crisis. Therefore, we need to convey our messages in a clear and systemic way. We need to explain the reasons for what is happening. And the reason is simple, just the actions of the Russian Federation. And that is not just the blockade of Ukrainian grain and of our ports, but this is also shelling of the warehousing facilities, something that has happened recently in Mykolaiv. Russia is a terrorist state which is committing terror not only in Ukraine but against other countries as well. It is demanding a removal of sanctions in exchange of access to food, and we need to clearly explain what the essence of Russia's actions are. You can see the changes happening to Europe over the recent 3 months. Europe has gone along an uneasy but very quick way of perceiving Russia as a business as usual to seeing it as the country of terrorists. So what is your impression? How has Europe changed and why did it happen so quickly? Well, in fact, Europe has changed its perception only, unfortunately, only after the 24th of February. Before that, and I have some personal experience of communicating with European politicians, here in the Brussels and at the national level. So before that, Russia was perceived as a specific partner, but a reliable partner with whom you could do business as usual. And those business ties were really considerable, long lasting, and promising in many fields. But the conduct of the Russian regime, unprovoked aggression against Ukraine, put an end to this vision of Russia among not only politicians but the residents of the EU member states. And currently, definitely, we do have support of Ukraine at the level of the community, and that can be seen not only by the Ukrainian flags in Brussels and in other capitals, but this also goes about specific figures. Figures of surveys, of polls of public opinion, and this also refers to assessment of the situation and the standpoint of Ukraine, the standpoint of the EU, of the Russian Federation, and also support of Ukraine in the context of acquisition of the candidate status to the EU. The situation has changed drastically over the recent 3 months in our favor. Why did it happen so? I guess that this is a result of effort at different levels, and definitely that is also the direct contribution of the president of Ukraine, who is the main communicator as of today on the Ukrainian side. That also goes about the work of Ukrainian journalists at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and analytical centers, the press, the European press. And here I communicate with journalists on a daily basis, and there has never been such an interest and a deep understanding of the processes as we have now. Clear. And here is the last but a very important question. What about the seventh package of sanctions? What could it be like, at least in general? Well, let me tell you what we would like to see in the seventh package. Definitely time will show this. But we are speaking about total embargo of Russian oil and gas carriers, energy carriers, which again include this pipeline oil. But with this in view, we need to settle a number of technical issues. I've already mentioned today the countries that are the EU member states and that currently don't have any access to the sea. So this problem will need to be settled. We also speak here about gas and about dependence on gas because it's still great in some EU member states, but we may start dealing with LNG. I mean, those restrictions of supply of LNG from the Russian Federation could be a good start. Also, we have to work at the alternative ways, alternative sources of supply of this gas in the EU, and actually work is already being done in this respect. Also, we have to exert greater pressure on the Russian financial sector by inclusion of additional Russian Belarus banks to the list on the sanctions to be disconnected from SWIFT. Definitely, this is also about additional steps aimed at the blockade of the Russian Navy, Russian ships, and ban on entering of the EU flagged ships into the Russian ports. So there must be a comprehensive approach applied in this respect. Also, it should go about the blockade of not only Russian mass media, but internet mass media and other sources of propaganda and disinformation, which are on the rise, the number of which is rising. And also, we could speak here about further pressure on the members of the Russian establishment, business elite, financial sector. Of course, in terms of the financial sector, it also includes cyber sanctions on crypto coins. A lot of work to do. And though some of those activities will not have an immediate effect, but the integrity of all those activities will gradually exert pressure on the Russian economy, suppressing it. And we already can see specific consequences. Even Russian sources claim that GDP this year has already fallen about 6 to 9%, and over the next several years, that will be the zero growth or minus growth. So that is the price the Russian people and Russia in general, Russian economy, have to pay for the aggression against Ukraine. Thanks a lot for your answers. Good luck to you in your work, which is extremely important. So this has been Vsevolod Chontsov, the head of the mission of Ukraine to the European Union, and we have been speaking about sanctions and how we could curb Russia using those sanctions. See you.